In the far reaches of the Skyfall Range, where the air is thin and the mountains touch the sky, there lived a warrior named Aria. She wasn't born into greatness. She earned every scar, every victory, through relentless training and unyielding determination. Raised among fierce warriors, she learned that strength alone wasn't enough. It was the silence after the battle, the patience in waiting, that shaped a true fighter. But this mission was unlike any she had faced before. It wasn't a fight for glory or revenge. It was a quest for something far older, something sacred, the Heartstone, a relic stolen from her people by a rival tribe. The elders warned her. This wasn't just a simple retrieval. The jungle around the stolen relic was alive with secrets, with dangers that whispered in the shadows and played tricks on the mind. The chieftain's voice echoed in her memory, rough and steady. "They have taken what must never be taken. You must go alone and bring it back. But be wary, the jungle breathes and it deceives." Aria didn't believe in ghost stories or ancient myths. The tales of a guardian beast lurking in the trees were just that, stories. What mattered was her skill, her blade, and her resolve. She trusted these more than any legend. With her gear packed and her mind focused, she stepped toward the dense jungle, confident in her mission. In her mind, this was just another battle. Swift, decisive, and done. In, out, return a hero. But the jungle never forgets. It waits. And this time it was already watching her. Unseen eyes followed her steps. Whispered voices carried her name through the rustling leaves, though she had yet to hear them. Aria moved deeper into the jungle, each step heavier than the last. The canopy above thickened, swallowing the sunlight and turning the world into shadows and whispers. At first, she thought it was just her imagination, strange markings on the trees, symbols she recognized from her tribe, but out here, they shouldn't exist. Her senses sharpened. The air grew thick with the scent of earth and wet leaves, but beneath that was something else. A subtle presence, watching, waiting. The ground beneath her feet was disturbed, marked by enormous footprints far larger than any animal she'd ever seen. At times, the wind seemed to carry faint sounds, like whispers curling around her ears, calling out in a voice she couldn't quite place. Her name, soft, almost pleading. Aria stopped and looked around, scanning the dense foliage. There was no one there, only the silence of the jungle and the steady beating of her own heart. She told herself to focus, to push these strange feelings aside. This was no time for fear or doubt, but the signs were undeniable. Something was following her, a presence far older and more powerful than any rival warrior. The jungle itself seemed alive, watching her every move, speaking in riddles only the brave or the foolish would try to understand. She gripped her blade tighter, steeling herself for whatever was to come. This was no ordinary mission anymore. The battle she thought she was fighting had changed. The jungle was beginning to reveal its secrets, and Aria was at the center of them all. After hours of pushing through thick vines and tangled roots, Aria finally stood before the ancient temple. Its stone walls were cracked and overgrown with moss, but the air around it pulsed with a strange energy. This was the place where the Heartstone was said to be hidden, the relic she had come to reclaim. She moved cautiously, every step echoing through the hollow corridors. Shadows danced on the walls as flickering torchlight revealed intricate carvings, telling stories of battles long past and guardians sworn to protect the sacred. Suddenly, from the darkness ahead, figures emerged. Elite warriors from the rival tribe, their eyes cold and determined. Aria's hand went to her sword. The clash was swift and brutal. Steel rang against steel as she fought with every ounce of strength and skill she had. Finally, with a decisive strike, she overcame her foes and reached the inner sanctum. There, resting on an ancient pedestal, lay the Heartstone, a glowing gem that seemed to pulse with life itself. But as she reached out to grasp it, the ground beneath her trembled. A A deep rumble echoed through the temple, shaking dust from the ceiling. From the shadows stepped a massive figure, the guardian of the temple. The gorilla stood tall, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light. It was more than an animal. It was a force of nature, the protector of the relic and the jungle's secret. Aria froze, blade raised, heart pounding. This was no ordinary guardian. The standoff stretched on, silent but charged with electricity. In that moment, Aria knew this was far more than a battle for a stolen treasure. It was the beginning of something far greater and far more dangerous. As Aria stood frozen, the massive gorilla's eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that stopped her breath. Then, in a voice deep and resonant, filled with ancient power, the gorilla spoke, her name. Aria, daughter of Raylor. The sound of her name from such an unexpected source sent a shock through her. No one outside her tribe knew the name of her father, and yet here was this creature, speaking it as if it were etched into the very air. Questions flooded her mind. How could this be? Why did this guardian know her? Was this some trick? Some trap? But the voice was calm, steady, and filled with a strange kindness. The gorilla, Karun, revealed that he was more than just a beast. He was a guardian bound by an ancient oath to her bloodline, a protector sworn to watch over her family's legacy. Aria listened as the truth unfolded. Her father, Raylor, had saved Karun long ago, forging a bond that transcended time. The Heartstone was not merely a relic, it was a key, a symbol of that bond, and a shield against a darkness rising in the jungle. Suddenly, everything she thought she knew shifted. The mission, the battle, the jungle itself. They were part of a much larger story, one she was destined to be part of. Aria lowered her blade, her heart heavy but resolute. This was no longer just a fight for a stolen treasure. It was a call to a destiny she could no longer ignore. The gorilla's words lingered in the air as Aria's mind raced to piece together the hidden history. Memories she never knew she had began to surface. Fragments of stories whispered by her mother, tales of a man who saved a guardian from death, forging a bond that bound their fates together. Her father, Raylor, was not just a warrior. He was the last guardian's ally, the one who made a promise that had lasted generations. The Heartstone wasn't just a relic to be stolen or won. It was the key to an ancient power, a shield against a darkness awakening beneath the jungle's roots. As Karun spoke, images flashed like visions, dark shadows creeping through the forest, corrupting the land and threatening to consume everything. The rival tribe's theft was more than greed. It was a spark that could ignite destruction. Aria realized her journey was far from over. The battle she thought she was fighting was only the beginning. The real war was coming, and it would take everything she had, her courage, her strength, and the unlikely alliance she now shared with Karun. Her path was clear, but the stakes were higher than ever. The jungle's secrets had been revealed, and Aria was now its chosen protector, destined to face the darkness rising from the depths. With new purpose burning in her eyes, she prepared herself for what lay ahead. This was no longer just about reclaiming a relic. It was about saving her people, her home, and the fragile balance between man and nature. Aria and Karun moved swiftly through the jungle, their unlikely alliance forged in the heat of battle. The enemy was closing in, relentless and ruthless, but together they were unstoppable. Her agility and precision blended seamlessly with Karun's raw power and speed. Branches snapped and leaves flew as they fought side by side, pushing through waves of attackers. Every strike Aria landed was supported by the Guardian's thunderous strength, every dodge covered by his protective presence. The jungle itself seemed to respond, shifting and swirling around them as if aiding their escape. With each step, their bond grew stronger, a connection born not just from necessity, but from a shared purpose. The relic they protected was more than a symbol. It was a promise to the past and a hope for the future. At the edge of a steep cliff, they faced their final challenge. Without hesitation, they leapt together into the misty abyss below, trusting the jungle to catch them. The fall was a leap of faith, a moment suspended between danger and salvation. As they disappeared into the swirling fog, Aria knew their journey was only just beginning. The battle they thought would define her life had transformed into a quest for survival, alliance, and destiny. The jungle had spoken, and Aria was ready to listen.